Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to episode 20 of albums that are 40 years old in 2023. That's right, we are counting down our favorite albums released in 1983 that are celebrating their 40th birthday or having their 40th anniversaries, however you like to look at it, here in 2023 from the great year of 1983, 28 days of February. We picked out our 28 favorites. Again, I'm not putting mine in any order. They're just kind of like random, right? This particular album is the fourth studio album from this great British band. This is really an album that really kind of needs no introduction. Released May 16th, 1983. Recorded at Compass Point Studios in the Bahamas. Produced by Martin Birch for EMI. Yes, you knew it was coming. Peace of Mind from Iron Maiden. That's right. First album with Nico McBrain on the drums, Bruce Dickinson on vocals, Dave Murray, Adrian Smith on guitars, and Steve Harris on bass. Yeah, still to this day, my favorite Iron Maiden album of all time. It's just so strong, top to bottom, right? Where Eagles Dare. I mean, you know, what better way to announce your arrival into a band than Where Eagles Dare for Nico, right? Great drum barrage to open up the album. Where Eagles Dare is such a powerful song. You got the great Revelations, probably the most well-known track from the album, arguably Flight of Icarus, killer song. It's the first song I heard from the album. I was hooked from there. If you're gonna die, you better die with your boots on, right? Because that's coming up next. That's closing out side one of the original vinyl. Then over on side two, probably the second most known song on the album, arguably the greatest song on the album for some, The Trooper. It's been a part of the Iron Maiden set list for decade after decade. Great song. Then you got Still Life, Quest for Fire, Drawn by Quest for Fire. It's amazing how many like Maiden fans that I'm friends with who really don't like Quest for Fire. I don't hate it. Right? Is it the weakest song on the album? Probably, but I don't hate it at all. Sun and Steel, great track. And then, of course, To Tame a Land. To Tame a Land clocking in at 7 minutes and change. I've said it before, I'll say it again. To Tame a Land, I think, is where the kind of the little bug that Steve Harris got to write longer form compositions. Sure, we had 22 Acacia Avenue and Hallowed Be Thy Name on the previous album, you know, Phantom of the Opera and whatnot, but I think that To Tame a Land is the first song where the band really got this whole idea that they could do longer form songs that kind of moderate tempos, right, kind of chugging along, fast and speedy parts, slow atmospheric parts, right, because they would do an even longer one on the next album, and then we would see lots of epics like this going forward. I think To Tame a Land is actually terrific. So, yeah, and this is a really good sounding Maiden album. I always really loved Martin Birch's productions. It's interesting how, I don't know if Martin had a specific sound. You know, there's some producers, especially from this time period, you know, like the 70s into the 80s, who had a very, very specific style, and like when you heard a production of theirs, regardless of who the band was, you knew it was them, right? Mutt Lange is one. You always knew a Mutt Lange production. I'd argue that Martin Birch, that really wasn't always the case, because he would do like specific albums for specific bands, and all the albums would sound kind of different. Like Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules by Black Sabbath, they don't sound anything alike, right? You got the couple albums he did for Blue Oyster Cult, both sound very different. I'd say some of those Whitesnake and early Rainbow albums all sound different from each other, and the Maiden stuff, kind of similar, although I think he got like a certain sound with Maiden. But for most of the other bands that he worked with, that wasn't always the case. They all these albums kind of sound a little bit distinct, but the albums were all very dry, and that's okay. I don't really mind that too much. But I think there was just a potency of most of the productions that he worked on that I always really appreciated. Not to mention that I just happen to love all those bands so much anyway, right? So they're going to rank pretty high. So yeah, so that's what I got to say about this album. It's just absolutely classic. I mean, we've talked about Peace of Mind over and over again on the channel, and it is a classic for a reason. It's my favorite Iron Maiden album. It had to be on this list, and it comes in here on day 20. So let us know what you think of Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind in the comments below, as well as your pick for day 20 as we march our way all the way down to day 28. Also on day 28, you're going to get my bonus episode with all my honorable mentions. And then I'm already putting my list together for next month, which is the albums that turned 30 in 2023 as we go back to 1993. You know, again, as we move into the 90s, I think there's a lot less classic albums because we haven't had them around as long, but there's still plenty of really, really good albums that came out in 1993. So I would urge you folks, because I noticed these things. I noticed like the albums that are 50 years old, which we look back on in 1973, did bang up views every single day, almost 10,000 views a day, right? Because people love the 70s. I've noticed a significant drop off in the 1983 stuff, almost to half, and I'm sure for the 1993 monthly series, it'll be even half of that. So I would urge some of you who are just not even bothering because you're like, I didn't buy any albums in 83, there wasn't any good albums, and certainly you'll be saying that even more for 1993, to watch these and hopefully find some stuff that you may want to go investigate and listen to, because I think so many people just have this kind of like theory that I wasn't really listening to much stuff in 1993, so I won't even watch those episodes because there was nothing good came out in the 90s. Well, I'd argue differently, right? Was the 90s different? Sure. Was the very, very popular music maybe not to everybody's liking? For sure. That was it for me. But there's a lot of stuff that boiled under the surface that was actually really, really good, and stuff even that I discovered later on that now is like, wow, great stuff. So I'd urge everybody to go into next month's show with an open mind. And then, of course, in April, we're going to go into something completely different. So thanks for watching, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content as a post. As Tala, of course, doesn't want to be in here. She's like, when I lock her out of the room, she wants to come in. When I put her in the room, she wants to go out. Down below, we have the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations as well as our merch page. So check all that out as well. And I thank you all. We will see you tomorrow on In the Prague Seat, right? 100th episode, the sequel to the most watched In the Prague Seat episode of all time, the epic Prague albums we can't stand. The sequel, part 2, is coming up at you tomorrow. It was a lot of fun, so you guys will enjoy that. So until then, take care. I am Pete Pardo. Bye-bye.